Many people who live and work on the coastline mainly go surfing on boats to catch some fish. And as boring and tiring as it sounds, tight winds can sometimes make them the food of sea life, or a change of direction will send them somewhere far away, after which they're never to be found. But there are some rare and lucky occasions when they somehow made their way back to the coastline by the winds again. But on the other side, or by rescue efforts, and this is exactly what we're going to talk about. Welcome to the channel, and today we'll look at how a 19-year-old survived 49 days without any trace. Audi Novel Adelang was a 19-year-old man who worked by the coast and was assigned to the sole caretaker of a wooden fishing hut miles off the sea. The fishing hut was called Rompong. Audi was under a 6-month contract where he had to work as a lamp keeper on the boat and the task of lighting the Rompong's lamps designed to attract fish. And according to his father, he had been doing this job since he was 16. Every week, someone from his company would come and supply him with food, water, and fuel since he always had to be 125 km off the coast at the area where he could find fish. The hut, one of the 50 owned by a company and spread across the waters of Manado, and during the heavy rains in July when the boat was in the dock, it detached from the moorings and sent Audi very far into the ocean. And this was the start of one of his life's darkest and scariest periods. The boat didn't have steering or a control option which would have helped him, and he then went on a long journey as the boat drifted into the waters of the Pacific Ocean. The small hut sat on a rectangular wooden surface with a thatched roof that protected him, and now surviving came first before reaching the land. With only supplies, which could only be enough for a week, he had to find some other solutions to fill his needs. He stretched out the supplies and started to fish to feed himself and keep himself out of danger. He started to use the wood of the Rompong's wooden fences after he ran out of gas. This type of incident was something that most people do not dare to investigate since 90% of people who go missing are never found again. And in Indonesia, this became quite a big headline at the start. The boat company and the family were confused about what was happening. It mentally stressed them. They were hoping and praying for one thing, and one thing only, for their boy to be safe. And back in the Rompong, Audi kept his spirits up with a Bible that he carried and used as a shining lamp to keep himself motivated and positive. And even though he thought he would be rescued in a short span, he was completely wrong and was mistaken by the depth and distance of the ocean. He came so far off the coast that even if he traveled 1,000 miles in any point or direction, he would still not find any land from afar. And being the only human in the middle of the ocean with one big wind, enough to make him a lunch for animals underneath, he had nothing but faith inside him and somehow managed to catch some fish and eat them. He drank the water by sipping the water from his t-shirts that he wetted from the seawater to reduce the salt intake. And during his time in the hut, he was left wondering if he would ever see his parents again, which made him question his life. He almost committed suicide by the fear he induced inside himself, but after he was found, he said that the Bible made him even stronger at times like these. He came across the 49 days of his life in that isolated and empty hut. He faced many dangerous days and nights, which included sharks circling the hut and following him for quite a time, trying to get him into the ocean, and also the winds which almost flipped and submerged the hut. But luck and his faith paid off and kept him safe aboard. And he also had moments of pure joy when he found some ships which he thought would save him. But then they went on to ignore him and go on with their journey, taking his positive energy with them. And for the record, he was passed by at least 10 ships by then, and he was unsuccessful every time he tried to get himself saved by them. Being exposed to seawater and the improper and irregular diet made him thin and gave him a dwarfed look. Audi was nothing but a shadow of his former self this time. Nothing could have motivated him to look out for help. This time, he was feeling through his blood and was left with a little hope left in his heart. But it all took a 180-degree turn as he was noticed by a Panamanian-flagged ship, MV Arpeggio, and this time, they were close enough that they would be able to get him. After this, he was miraculously able to get on the radio with the ship and was immediately heard saying, "Help, help, help." One of the crew members saw this and informed the situation to the captain, who agreed to help and start a little rescue operation to save Audi. They first made some efforts to get near the boat safely without getting too close to it, and then jumped off the Rompong and swam towards the ship where he was given a rope and was pulled up from the ocean to the ship. The real life of Pi adventure was now over for him, and this was the start of his second life after a 7-week trip over the ocean changed his life forever in a completely unexpected way. And as expected, Audi was completely different. He was physically weaker than he ever was, and the crew immediately noticed it and made sure they gave him some food and water to rejuvenate himself. It didn't take him that long to reconnect with his family, and then headed to Japan with the crew and went to his home in Indonesia. He also managed to connect back to the place he worked with, the radio frequency they used, and after that he made sure everyone heard his story. During his time with the crew, they ensured he was treated right and well. He was given a haircut and was examined, and concluded that he needed some rest and food to get back up. This had become an international headline in the West, and Aldi was kind enough to tell them exactly what happened, and the diplomats in Osaka were quick to talk about the experiences he told them. Aldi said he had been scared and often cried while adrift. Fajar Firdausi, a diplomat in the consulate of Osaka, every time he saw a large ship, he said he was hopeful, but more than 10 ships sailed past him, and none of them stopped or saw Aldi. It was only on the 31st of April that a Pershio spotted him and saved him. Aldi arrived in the Japanese port of Takayama, but had to spend a day on the cargo vessel, and there was quite a concern about a health quarantine, and officials rushed to arrange documents allowing him to disembark his stay. And after 2 days, he flew from Japan to Jakarta, finally making his way back home. His family was there to welcome him with their open hands, happy that their prayers came true, and blessed that their son would be back with them after a very rough and tough 7 weeks. The country's consulate in Osaka posted the photo of Aldi with his relatives in the coastal city of Manado. This is it for today's video. We hope that you liked it. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.